Welcome, Coffee and Candor. This is Amber.
Chris.
Ross.
And Brandy.
And we're going to start off by talking about the Boeing 737 MAX and its MCAS system.
Max 8.
Let me ask you this. The Boeing 737 MAX. Was this, I know y'all watched something about it, was this a total redesign of the 737, or is this just adding a bunch of shit to it?
What was it, bigger engines?
Well, it was bigger engines, which means that the engine actually sat forward more on the wing.
Which is why...
Because I know the 737 itself has been in use forever. I mean,
which is why they put this MCAS system, because the engines were heavier, so it would pull the nose up. So it had these sensors on the side of the plane. Whenever the nose started going up, these sensors would kick in and lower the nose,
like a stabilizer,
to keep it level. But when they put this system in, they didn't tell anybody about the system. They didn't tell the pilots. There was no additional training because it's the same plane.
And if you're a pilot and shit starts to...
that
reaction,
pilot,
they had no idea.
Well, here's the thing. To that pilot who had been flying that plane for 10,000 hours, that plane's doing something it's not supposed to do if he doesn't know what that system is made.
Well, right, and he's going to try to correct it, which then will overcorrect.
They had their manual to the new whatever. MCAS. The only time MCAS was mentioned was in the index under the abbreviations. It wasn't even anywhere in the manual.
So there was no even description.
So they were like, what is...
And this is really important, too. They told all of these pilots, you don't need any simulator training.
Yeah, there was no additional training, nothing. So the first one, which I remember the story, and I can't remember the pilot's name, but he got in the plane, and I remember when the story came out, I remember them talking about he didn't have the proper training.
You're talking about the guy from Lion Air?
Yeah.
This is the one that they basically said was all
this
pilot
was
error.
the first big crash, and they, from what I can remember, it was all pilot error. He didn't have enough training, blah 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 blah.
And it was real easy to do that because Lion Air is like an Indonesian or Malaysian airline, so it's not
there's not a lot back.
Yeah, because the first one I think was Indonesia.
Oh my god!
No, the first one was in the U.S., but they didn't crash. They were able to make it back safely. Oh, okay. But the first crash was that one.
So the plane kept dipping down. How many times did I see it dip down? It was only a few. The first one was only a few times.
Yeah, the one that in Lion Air was like 24.
Oh my god!
Well, the first time the plane kept dipping down, and they were getting control. I mean, it was doing this in flight, and they were able to land it. They did not give a full report of what happened.
So this happened to them, and they still are like, what the fuck?
Pilots didn't have any idea. They refused to give a full report, so the next day, the pilots, the crew members...
Why?
I don't know. There was an incomplete report. So the next day, that plane was sitting there with new pilots, new crew members, new passengers. Nobody knew anything.
Why would they refuse to
because the potential... are they
afraid they were going to get in trouble? And
well, it's like the saying, some professions can't afford to have mistakes, like heart surgeons and pilots.
But here's the thing: it's not like they're going. And for anybody who says, "Oh, you don't know," yes, the fuck I do. I was an aircraft mechanic for 10 years and I worked a year in debrief. So
I know how aerodynamics works.
So what I'm saying is as close to expert testimony as anyone's going to get. These pilots, when they give their report, it's not like they're holding a press conference.
I get that.
The pilot and the co-pilot, for us it was the flight engineer, go into a room with the debriefer, and they tell this debriefer, they've got the aircraft forms with them, and they tell the debriefer everything that went on, no matter what it was. If it's a write-up, they tell him, and the debriefer puts it in the forms and then loads it in the computer and then sends the forms back out to the crew.
Okay, so
the ground crew.
When Amber said that they wouldn't give a full report, they wouldn't give a full report to the media, or they wouldn't give a full report to the airline?
To the debriefer.
Yeah, anytime an airplane flies.
Yeah.
If something happens,
Yeah,
even if nothing happens, you have to give a report. This happened. It went smoothly. We were having problems with this.
So they just flat out.
They just didn't say anything.
Wow,
Apparently.
that's crazy.
God.
So this says during certification of the MAX, Boeing removed a description of MCAS from the flight manuals, leaving pilots unaware of the system when the airplane entered service.
That's
so
negligence.
Stupid. That's stupid.
That is negligence.
So they had it in there to begin with.
Well,
they removed it.
And here's the deal: if they don't know what that system is or what it's doing, literally, that system is doing something to that plane that if they have no clue about that system, that plane shouldn't be doing. And so they're going to be overcorrecting.
Here's the bitch of the whole thing. All they had to do was say, have a little paragraph. Here's the system. Here's what it does. If you start having a problem, reach over here and pull this circuit breaker.
Turn it off. Yeah, no shit.
So the next day, new pilots, new crew. Nobody's aware of anything that happened the day before. This is the one that I remember
What could
the
go
news.
wrong?
Yeah, exactly.
Where they said the pilot didn't know what he didn't have enough training, whatever.
That really irritates me that they disparaged and defamed that pilot because of something that was their fucking fault.
And the whole time the nose is going down.
That was the one
They're
they said
correcting.
24
nose
times.
is going
Sounds like a
down.
cover-up
They're
to me.
correcting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And he crashes. Everybody on board dies.
Oh my God.
This says 12 days after the first crash, Lion Air Flight 610, Boeing publicly revealed MCAS in a discussion with airline operators and other aviation interests. A recovery procedure highlighted by Boeing and the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration after the Lion Air accident failed to prevent the second accident. So the second one was Ethiopian Airline.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And they were actually on their way to
I do
Nairobi,
remember
I
that,
think.
I remember that.
And this one, I think it was before the second one.
Well,
they told them what to do if
If this happened.
this happened.
Wasn't that the same plane that crashed in Italy up on the mountains?
I didn't
Wasn't that
hear-
a
I didn't hear
737 Max?
Oh, it might have been, but
Remember
I
when
don't think
it was going to be hard because it was all bouldery and then they crashed on the side of the. I'm
don't know
thinking
if
that
that
was
was
a
it.
737 Max.
I don't know.
I don't know.
But so before this one, Boeing said, we've been having problems with the fit system. We're still going to fly the planes. Everything's fine.
No,
if
it's
you
not.
start having problems, just turn the system off. Or disconnect power.
How? There's no description of where, what.
No. It's a circuit breaker.
Yeah, they told them what to do. Just disconnect the
Okay.
circuit breaker.
in the flight deck, you've got panels
Oh, I know.
and panels
Yeah.
of circuit breakers, and all they'd have to do is say, we actually had certain circuit breakers that had yellow tips on them, so we could identify them quickly. And
Well, that's what I'm saying. Did
all they'd
Boeing
have to
actually do that?
Yeah, no,
Did they know
no.
how to shut it off? If they,
Well, they did, but here's the bitch of it. That's the one that they said, and this
It
this
was
is
constant.
Yeah,
up and
this-
down,
Wow,
up
that's
and
insane.
down.
this was
6 minutes after they took off, they crashed.
This was
That's
a
insane.
forensic investigator for the FAA that determined this, or not the FAA, but whatever country he was with. He said they had 4 seconds to react.
Wow.
And he said, "Here's how long that is. There's a problem. 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So
You're dead."
Well,
So-
to me, in layman's terms, even if you're not a aircraft engineer, whatever, on a vehicle when you put on cruise control and you're in a mountainous area, think about how many fucking times your car is downshifting, upshifting, downshifting, upshifting.
Well, the
you
thing-
don't want to do that when you're 30,000 feet in the air.
Well, and they weren't 30,000 feet in the air.
But I mean, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah. They what happened with that one was they finally got the problem fixed. The bitch is the MCAS system had put them at such an angle they weren't.
I was going to
Oh,
finish
sorry.
the story because you're leaving stuff out.
Oh, sorry.
So they're pitching up and down dozens of times, 6 minutes before they crashed.
Yeah, I think they said
They
2 or
disconnected
3
power
dozen.
just like they were told to do. The nose is still down. They're trying to pull up. It's too hard. Both pilots are pulling on the what's it called?
The yoke.
The yoke, and it's too difficult. It's too much pressure. They can't. They're panicking. They don't know what to do. They hit the system on again, thinking maybe that'll,
Fix it.
and then they crash.
Because here's the thing.
Why were they having so much trouble?
Because
hold on,
there was
because-
such an
It
angle.
was at such an angle they
here's
weren't
the
able
thing.
to.
So, if that's a fly-by-wire system, that means when I pull back on the yoke, I'm not actually pulling back on
No,
the cable. I'm pulling back, and there's a signal sent to adjust the thing.
Yeah.
Well, when you turn the power off to that electric motor.
You turn the power off to
now, because you never have a fly-by-wire and that's it. It's always a fly-by-wire with a manual backup, right? Which means Armstrong, right? But when you're like this, and even if you're just sitting on the ground,
so turning that off, they didn't have any assist, basically.
Yeah, and I mean,
it would have been like you're trying to drive a high-speed vehicle on a racetrack, and you turn off your,
I think it'd be more like
power steering. That's what I'm talking about.
But the thing is, even sitting on the ground, and I've done this thousands of times, pulling back on that yoke, man, that is not some bullshit. We would have to. There are actually on the 130s. There are actually foot rails. So if you have to do it, you can put your foot on there. Yeah, and I mean, it's difficult to doing that in the air.
The things they had on the side of the plane to show whether it was level or not were not put on correctly.
The sensor thing?
The sensors. So the plane is flying straight. The plane thinks that the nose is going up.
Oh, good.
So it's automatically pushing the nose back down to stabilize, but they were already going
that's
straight.
Why they were
so it's pushing them to the ground.
Yeah, okay.
And how many people died before they...
And those sensors were installed new for the MCAS system?
Yeah.
Okay.
They showed a picture of them. It's right up front on the nose by the pitot tubes. But when they finally grounded the whole fleet of 737 MAX 8s, I think they had 3 fatal crashes before they did it. And that...
seems unacceptable.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, that's the one that Boeing wound up settling out of court for just
346 people in 2 crashes.
2 crashes, okay. Yeah, and what really irritates me about that is that they tried to defame that pilot, and they tried to blame it on his ability, knowing damn good and well that number one, the plane's handling characteristics were changed.
That's shitty as hell.
And number 2, there was an additional system that he didn't even know about because they didn't fucking tell him. So yeah,
it was like a year before they grounded those airplanes.
Wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, the whole thing.
Can you imagine finding something like that, like you lost your family member and then finding out it was some bullshit like that?
Well, they had interviews with a bunch of family members that's exactly what happened. This one couple. Do you remember Ralph Nader? Okay, it's his one of the girls was his great niece.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, so it was like Ralph Nader was the uncle of this woman who was also a lawyer, and her husband was a lawyer.
That's not good for Boeing.
and they showed up at the hearing.
Yeah, I bet they did.
And confronted the Boeing CEO. Just the amount of negligence.
Yeah,
it wasn't a year before they grounded them. They said the Lion Air accident was October 29th, 2018.
Okay.
Ethiopian Airlines accident was March 10th, 2019. First grounding was March 10th, 2019 by Ethiopian Airlines. First grounding order was March 11th, 2019 by the Civil Aviation Administration of China, and that says that's still in effect. And FAA grounding order was from March 13th, 2019 to November 18th, 2020.
Wow. Just the idea, because all right, so Boeing is $1 trillion company.
Oh yeah,
they're not hurting for fucking money. And everybody wants the latest and greatest thing, and all they had to do was say, "Hey, look, here's this new system. Do 4 hours of sim time. You'll get it, and then you can go about your business." That's it. For maybe 8 hours of sim time, you're talking 1 day per pilot.
Wow.
And almost 400 people would still be alive. Boeing would not be out a couple of $1 billion, and they wouldn't have this massive black mark on their reputation.
Jeez.
So MCAS stands for Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System.
Augmentation, that's the one that I thought it was adjustment. But this is one of those situations where an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Yeah, because no amount of money in the world's going to unfuck that.
Nope.
Damn.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I mean, just the level of
negligence.
Yeah, negligence and man,
disregard.
It just seemed like they were very callous towards the idea that they cost almost 400 people their lives.
Well, and then and then to put it on that pilot.